welcome everybody for another edition of Wrestling on the Fly. I am your host, Scott Spade, along with my partner in crime, who has a permanent camera on his beautiful, pretty face now, Nick Hedford, my producer. Right. Today, our next guest on this episode is a PCW lifer. So now we can finally dig into the PCW company. The man himself, the Butcher. Welcome to Wrestling on the Fly.
Glad to be here, brother. Glad to be here.
Ready to pull up some of those old memories and relive some of the good moments here?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
right.
sir. Definitely.
So we'll start out with the earliest memories that you've had of just your early life. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Childhood
I was born in Schiller Park, right near the airport. But my wrestling life started on 1982 Christmas Eve. I was going to my cousin's house. We were there. We were in the basement. And he put on this tape. I think it might have been from Florida. I'm not exactly sure. This was like 82. But it was two guys, and they wrestled jobbers. It was Junkyard Dog, or Enhanced Metallic, excuse me. Junkyard Dog and Greg Valentine. And I was just, from that moment, that was it.
Really?
I just, there was just something about it that I thought was so cool. I love the crowd. I love the theatrics. I love the physicality. I just was just hooked ever since that moment. And anytime I got a chance to watch it, I did growing up, The WWE was probably my more main thing, I remember before WrestleMania 1's always been a funny story. We didn't actually have pay-per-view till WrestleMania 8 in my neighborhood. But the first one, man, I wanted to see it so bad. And I was almost crying to my dad. And back then, this is 85.
Yeah, 85,
it was normal to bring a kid into a bar, So I went into this place at Deerhead. They had it, and it was in River Grove. They had the WrestleMania. So my dad took me. We sat to buy. I had a Coke and, some snacks and stuff and watch it. And some guy, he comes up to me and he's like, "You ready to see Hulk Hogan win, kid?" And I'm like, "Hogan, I want Piper. I'm a Roddy Piper guy. I want because there was something about the music and the kill, and there were certain things, that's how it is with everybody. That's why, I hate when people argue this guy's better than this. So everyone has their own thing. Sure. Everyone, someone will click, some guys click to a lot more people than others, but everyone has their thing, and it was something about Piper that just drawn me to him. And
yeah, I think he was one of the early heels that people did start liking because he was so good at what he did.
He definitely was. So, yeah, that was, and then it was just like, every year WrestleMania was a huge thing. Then they started doing more pay-per-views, Royal Rumble, which I love. It was kind of, I hung out with the guys and, did other things, but wrestling still came first. I mean, and even, now when you get older, it's, well, not our age. We're a little too old, but like when you're in your, 20s and stuff, a lot of, big bar night is the day before Thanksgiving. And it's the same thing like in high school. Everybody goes out that night. Mm-hmm. But it was Survivor Series while I was in high school, so I stayed home. I missed some good parties, but wrestling was always more important.
Night, instead of being on Sundays like they changed it to.
Yeah, at this time, like I said, in high school, they actually moved it up to the night before, around the time I was in high school. So I would stay home from the party just to watch wrestling because it was more important.
That's awesome. Who would you say was your favorites growing up? Besides Piper's probably one of your favorites for sure.
Savage. I liked Snuka. Early Snuka was one of my favorites. Tito Santana. I just love that finish. The way he used to hit it. There was something about it, And, there were a lot of guys I really admired, but as I started watching more wrestling and learning more about it, Arn Anderson became my guy. It was just
tremendous worker.
Yeah, and he could do everything. He could work on the mic. He's a legitimate tough guy. I think he still is, even though he's old. I mean, guy cuts a great pro. I mean, I heard on some platforms in 2021 they gave him promo of the year for that one with Cody. It was pretty good. You should check it out. It's about getting carjacked. Yeah, but like I said, on some platforms it was pro, and you believed him. Arn made you believe. And there was a match, and I want to say 90, 91, that just changed my whole way of looking at wrestling. For like a little over 2 years in NWA, I think it was at the time. I don't think it was quite WCW. Great Muta was like undefeated.
Yeah, it was still NWA.
Yeah, he had.
Yeah,
I think he lost the count out the qualification, but he'd never been pinned. He'd never been beat. And then it was him and Arn. And this match was like more at a speed that I never really seen, and just everything was hit right. Everything was hit at the right time. The crowd, I mean, man, when the crowd gets into something like that, and when Arn finally came out on top, I mean, it was like, at that time, it's some, nowadays you look at it compared to the matches nowadays, and, you know, I mean, me and you would be like, it's great. But
it's way better.
A lot of people would look at it like, oh, what do they really do? But at that time, it was something else. And, you know, ever since then, I've been real big Arn guy. And then, like I said, more getting into the business, when you learn, certain guys, you know, like I always loved Austin. I still think Austin's great. But after getting into business, I didn't look at him the way I did before. And there are some guys it's the opposite, that you really didn't look at as being that great. But now you're like, wow, you know.
Yeah, because he did more of wrestling in WCW, and then once he became Stone Cold, he kind of stopped at the wrestling, did the more of the brawling. So it depends on the gimmick, too, what somebody's going to change. But yeah, to be a big star like that, you got to be doing something right. What finally made you pull the trigger, do you think, to say, I want to do this? How do I go about finding somewhere to get in? Because there wasn't many places back then.
No, there was pretty much
like
3 that I knew about. And there was Sonny Rogers had a school, Sam DeCero had Windy City, and Danny Dominion had Steel Domain. And I had saw something on Steel Domain, and they actually had a commercial on.
I remember seeing those, yeah.
Yeah, so I like looked into that. You know, I talked with Danny for a little bit on the phone, and it just seemed, I mean, it wasn't a bad conversation. It just seemed like, you know, I was promised a lot of stuff that I didn't see, you know, really happening. You know, it just the way it was. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to look into something else. And then Randy J, who wrestled for, was one of Sonny's guys. He, his ma worked at the store, was a butcher.
Oh.
So there were flyers everywhere, and I'm like, I'm going to the show. And I sat there, and I looked at, you know, honestly, I looked at these guys, and I'm like, well, there are guys that are bigger than me, but there are guys that are smaller than me. There's guys that are more athletic than me, but there's some guys I'm more athletic than. I'm like, hell, if these guys can do it, so can I. So right away, I went and signed with Sonny on Friday morning, and I was like ready to go. Because even, you know, with Sonny was like, what I liked about him is he's like, you know, always have something to follow up on. And I was 21 at the time. I had already was just about to be a journeyman butcher, just finishing my apprenticeship. So I had something to fall back on, you know. And he's like, you know, I'm not promising you the world, you know, and the price wasn't really too insane. So everything just worked, you know. And so that night I did my first practice, and that's a story. So
is this 99, 2000?
This is April 2000.
2000. Okay.
I want to say because I saw the contract not too long ago. I think it's April 3rd. I had it somewhere. No, I can't. I ran into Sonny, and he wants to see it, and I don't know where I put it, but I had it. I think it was April 3rd, 2000.
If you still have a contact with Sonny, it would be like a holy grail to get on here.
Oh, okay.
So if you say something to him, I would love to do that. You can get him on here. That's a legendary Chicago wrestler.
We'll see what he can do. I see Sonny every once in a while.
Wait a minute. You got a contract? I mean, you were able to sign a
PWI contract.
I did too. I had CCW contract
with Daniel Burnett.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe I didn't get one because I paid in full, and he's like, you're in.
Yeah, trade contract. Yeah.
No, I did like I think the high, because I was done in like a month. Little over a year I was paid off, but then I'm like, man, I should have done it slower, because then you got to pay monthly dues. So it's like, you know, either way. But I never minded, especially with never minded spending the dime when it came to wrestling and training and stuff.
So once you get there, what was it actually like on that first day?
It was interesting. So it was at 10 o'clock at night with a guy named Rick Knight, and I was with my friends, you know, a couple of friends before that, you know, having a few beers, you know, smoking up a little. I'm doing shit. I'm going to my first practice. You know, so I walk up to the practice,
And not till 10 o'clock
And-
at night. You
yeah.
said? That's
and I see
that's
a
weird
little
time.
Smokey Joe going.
Mhm.
Rick Knight and Dave Storm are sitting out there, and the first thing they say is, "You 21?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, get them a beer. So it's like,
Where was this?
this was
What's
at in the alley on it was right off of Harlem on Irving.
Yeah, it was an old laundromat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like behind the Italian American Club.
Yeah.
That was the main thing, you know. I remember there was an Italian American Club in front of it, and we were behind. We were like, it was like we were come out the alley, and they came out the front by the street. The way the
Yeah.
building was set up.
Okay.
So yeah, they were sitting out there. You know, we went in the ring and just talked like a couple. You know, Rick was more, and trust me, it turned out with me. He was a big psychology guy, and working with him helped me with that. But, you know, we were just talking some stuff. Then we went and sat down. And then it became a weekly thing. Before you knew it, a couple more guys were there next week. And then, you know.
It was only you at the start that night?
Yeah.
Just by yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, and it was nice for me because, first off, you know, it's good to get camaraderie with the guys. That
Sure.
was like I was just starting, and I would see them at practice. But, you know, I'm hanging, and a lot of the guys that were there were kind of the more vets, the guys who were around. People like John Burke would come, and Jimmy, and, you know, guys who had time in the business. And so that was good. And actually, it was just cool for me at the time, hanging out with a bunch of wrestlers, talking about wrestling. That's all they were talking about. You know, my other friends, after a while, they'd be like, well, I had a couple, but most of them would be like, all right, that's enough wrestling. You know, but that's all we talked about, like past wrestling. And then they would talk about stories in the business. And what's better for a young person to learn that's, you know, coming in, watching people who've done this tell stories about it, you know? So, yeah, it was a good experience.
What was training like now for you?
At first, I sucked. I mean, I'm not even going to like, beat around the bush. I couldn't get this shit. And from what we kind of figured out, I just, you know, I kind of wanted it too bad. I got in my own head. Every move was like, you know, and I didn't have the best coordination at the time. Wrestling actually helped me with that, but it was just, I was just so in my own head. I just wanted to do everything perfect and da-da-da. And yeah, it wasn't like I wanted to skip the basics because I knew that you got to learn the basics for everything. You know, you learn the basics, then you start advancing. But I had trouble with a lot of basic stuff. You know, there were a couple things, you know, that was like when I do a practice with, it was just weird. Whenever I did a practice with Trevor Blanchard, I would like start hitting things all of a sudden. You know, like I remember we did the first thing I ever hit right, we did the hard way. And he pulled me in the rope. And I hit that, and he's like, do it again. Do it again. Like to show people this is how, you know, this is the first time. And I always seemed something like my first couple months, it was always when Trevor was there, you know. But, you know, Jimmy, he spent a lot of time being very patient with me. You know, he could have said, hey, get the hell out of here, but he just, you know. And then before practice, you know, everyone's seen I was dedicated too, because I would get there an hour early at Jimmy's practice and run around the ring. And there was this little kid who used to come in the ring. He was probably about 5'6" at the time. And I just, like, you know, have him throw me around or do whatever. Or just run around, just have someone in the ring. I think you might know him, Chris Hetford.
I was thinking you were going there, actually. That's the first thing that popped into my head.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things that it's so cool seeing, like, him and Kyle and Brian all in this, you know, second generation
Makes you feel
Chicago
old, doesn't
wrestling.
it? I know.
It does, but it's
sure
cool.
Does. It is.
It's good to see
is.
that, you know, the kids were, you know, like Chris. Chris was around when I first started, little kids. Good to see the tradition staying, you know, where it's good to have new people, but it's always, you know, people who grew up in it.
Yeah,
And Chris definitely grew
Good
up
to keep
in
it in the
this, you
family,
know.
yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, it was like whoever would come in the ring with me, you know, would like, and there was a time, a funny thing, I remember with Rick Rocket, I'm like, because I want to do that Diamond Dust finisher. And I'm sitting on the second rope, like, trying to think, how do I practice this without hurting myself? You know, you kind of got to flip your body and land on your ass pretty much. And with your legs not hurting your ankles, I mean, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong when you're first starting. So I'm like, man. And then out of nowhere, without me telling him, Rocket just walks up. And he's like, hey, Butcher, do me a favor. Take a snap there. And I'm thinking, perfect. that's the bump that I need to do. So I hit that, and just being in the ring like that, guys would come in and just work with me a little extra practice, because that's the thing. I had so much trouble getting it, but I gave a lot of time. I'd be there 3 times a week. I even go to John Burke's practice, which I worked on Saturday as a butcher, but he had like a 3-hour practice. I could make the second half, but right from work, I'd head over just because I wanted to get better. And then after a while, I was starting to get good. I did my first match with Luke, big ass Luke. He's
your first official match then.
He was the best guy, man. This guy, somebody mentioned earlier, got voted off the show because of behavior. He was supposed to wrestle Luke, and everyone voted him off the show, so they had to find somebody else. So I'm in the ring, like I said early, like before, and I'm actually this is about 6 months in, I'm a little better at the time, and Luke comes in, and he's like, okay, come here, Butch, and we're doing a couple things on the fly, he's throwing me off. It seemed like I hit everything right, and I hear him go in the other room with Jimmy and say, hey, he's ready, put him on the show. So that was our first match. It was a lot of fun. Even my first match, I took a pretty big bump. I was on the top, and Luke was like, those you don't know, Luke's like almost 7 feet tall. So I did like a choke slam, as high as he can get me, and but I just had so much fun. It was like, and I had done before that first match, I had done a battle royal up there, and that's one thing I always remember. My old man, he wasn't biggest in the wrestling. He started to respect it more after I did it, but when I was a kid, he's like, this is all bullshit, That's just kind of how he was, He's a very practical guy. But like I said, after he's seen what the ring looked like and the way I would look after matches, he respected it more.
And now seeing you go through it too, I'm
exactly.
sure to get a better appreciation
for
it.
Well, we were going fishing, and up in Eagle River, way north Wisconsin. So he's like, you know what, if you're going to do this thing in Oshkosh, he goes, I'll take you up there. And that wasn't something my dad would normally do with wrestling, so it meant a lot to me. And, I was always a goofball, fighting around with people, sometimes selling things worse than they were, so I'm doing this battle royal, I got thrown out, I'm selling myself, and, I sit down by him later, and he's like, you were made for this shit. So it was like, then Oshkosh was like the first real match, and then, I wrestled Rick Knight for my second match, which went really well, except for the fact as the first time I wrestled someone with baby oil on. And I went for the side slam, he slid right through. Nick ref that match, by the way. And speaking of that match, there's something, because I had a driver's license problem at the time, so I actually went up to Oshkosh with Nick and his family. And on the way to the building, it was me, Nick, and Rick in the same vehicle.
You remember this?
Oh, is that where I almost slid into that car?
I don't think it was that one. That was the day where we almost killed Rick because we had Taco Bell before the show.
Oh.
But no, it was the 3 of us riding to the building, and that's one of the things where I realized kind of how much of a work everything is. The 3 people.
Wait a minute, we were coming back from a hardware store because we were looking for stuff for a street fight, and I think it was this lady was asking about a garbage can. Well, what are you going to do with it? Well, we're going to hit people with it. And she kind of looked at us like, okay.
Yeah, but when the 3 of us are in there, it was just kind of like, oh man, the 3 people in the match. And that happens. I mean, you hear old stories about people hiding, like face and heel working together. And somebody pulls up and the heel or the face is ducked down. And
they're putting a hood on Miles before he gets out.
Exactly. That kind of stuff. So, but, and then after that, the company was making a big switch. They were turning to PCW, and we lost the school. So that's where we were. That's kind of a good place to leave off on that.
That's the next time I think here. What do you remember of the transition from PWI to PCW now?
It was, for me, it wasn't that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like dramatic, it wasn't that much of a change for me. Because when I started, the changes were already coming. Okay. So, and by the time, I did my match, Dream Night Rebirth, the first PCW show, that was actually a little over a year after I started. So the changes were already, like I said, everything was starting to come in, and but with PCW, it was a very like, hey, this is going to be a big thing, because we had like a guy who's actually hosting on a show I listen to a lot lately, Busted Open, Jonathan Hood. He was there, giving a rah-rah speech for the company. We had Michael Martin doing our medical. We had, Rodney Miles. He had been around and stuff. PL, a lot of people were invested in getting into it and giving us like a speech, like, hey, you guys can do something, And the first couple of shows, we had catering and shit. It wasn't huge, but it was like they were bringing this company on a higher level. You know what I mean?
Yes, this is pretty neat too. That this episode now is really going to get a detailed preview or look at PCW itself, because we've hit it a little bit with Vito and a couple other guys. Steve Stone was there a couple times, but now you being a lifer there, and you've seen this transition out here, and then there's a couple splits that are coming later down the road. And I have heard the school fire story from the legend of lore of wrestling from people. We've never really talked about it on what story do you know of the school fire
Honestly,
story?
all I know is that
and that's the same one that you were talking
that
about.
I got a
training
call
at, right?
that was our second school we got.
Yeah, nobody's ever
It
talked
was
about
nice.
the
It
show
was
yet,
over.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in Stone Park, and like we did Rebirth in Melrose, so it's nice not being far from the building.
So that's after the first show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rebirth was in Melrose, where Jimmy does the same place Jimmy does.
Yeah.
And then we had Wolf's Flea Market, so a lot of the shows were kind of close. And what was even closer was Shaboom's. Shaboom's, you could walk, from the school where Sonny worked, and that was kind of our after place.
That's a legendary place.
It is, because and that was a cool thing. Like, we'd be going after our show, and like, I forget the guy Brian Zenner. He was running shows with some guys like AJ Styles, Chris Daniels, Chris Chetty, a couple of the ECW guys, and they would come in there. You never know who was going to come into Shaboom's. It was pretty cool. And, just being, around the guys, that's a big thing too, being around the guys, getting that camaraderie.
Yeah.
But, like the subject was, we were, that school was going for a while. I think we had it for a little over a year. Because it was let's see. Well, actually, by the end of that year, the school had burned down. The end of 2001.
2001?
Yeah, after Rebirth. 6/23/01. Everybody who knows Jimmy knows that.
Oh, yeah. It's been on his tape for 25 years, yeah.
So, it was later. I got a call that the school burned down. And I'm like, it was like, at that time, man, that was a real low time in my life, because I had like a real bad breakup that messed me up. I had just lost my driver's license. I had went through a trial. I had a DUI. They found I had the keys in my pocket when they found me. We tried to get out of it. We couldn't. It lasted a year. So all this shit went down in like a couple weeks.
And then,
And it's like, and then Christmas is coming and all that. It just felt like shit. So I remember that's where I almost started a new character, because New Year's, Rick Knight picked me up. He's like, dude, forget about everything. We're meeting up with Dave and Wally and everything. We actually had a Christmas party, around New Year's, and we just got, especially me, I just got lit up. I'm like, forget all this, I'm just getting hammered. And I did, and then after the party, we went to Idols in Palatine.
I remember hearing that name. Oh, yeah. On the corner of Route 12 and... Yeah, I remember that.
And I just snapped. I put on this one girl's cowboy hat, and all of a sudden I was the sheriff. And I had everybody in the whole bar rolling. I was just, and then after that, the guys were like, maybe that could be a character. Maybe you could start doing because I had done the Rex Bartlett thing, which they told me to do originally, because, actually we should get on the whole Butcher thing, how I came up with that.
That's a little ways down here. We got a lot of dates to hit before that one. So.
Yeah, but it was actually what I originally wanted to do.
Interesting.
But they told me, if you do that character, your first couple matches you're learning, you're going to be doing the job, so bring that character in strong.
Yeah.
So that was on the back burner. But then I had this, and I was thinking maybe I could do a Three Faces thing. And see, the main thing I want to be different from Foley is that's why I like Bray Wyatt a little more, because the one thing about Foley is all he did was change his costume. Like, there was no, like, his hair looked the same. Yeah, everything looked the same. There was no, like, putting on a hat or shaving a little bit or anything like that. Because I'm thinking, a Bartlett could have the goatee, handlebar for the sheriff, and clean shaven for the butcher. That's what I was originally thinking. This way, they would all look different. But it ended up not working that way. But yeah, that was, so that was the main thing with me with the question. Actually, get back to your question. Yep. I just heard it burned down, and it was like, what can you do? They had a couple people they thought might have done it, but it's like, you're never gonna catch them anyway. I was just hoping they would concentrate on finding another place for me to train.
Yeah, right.
And actually, in between, like the first two schools, before we went to the one there, like I was saying, my training, I was really having trouble. I did those 2 matches. And then when we started back at this school, it's like I was only in less than a year, and it was like a lot of stuff I learned. It was hard to get back. So, Dave, he had called me, one day he had told us all, he goes, hey, if you need extra help, so I called up Dave almost crying one day. I'm like, man, I want this so bad. I really, want to do this. And he's like, well, I'll come up with you. I was meeting up with him like 3 nights a week, going to the practices, and then things just started to click more. And where they really clicked, because Rebirth, I won a battle royal. It was fucking awesome. Melrose Park, I had like 35 people I knew there, maybe even more than that. It was wow. It was great. And then my next match was against Flyboy TK. That match changed my career in a couple different ways, because I had never had like a really good match. And it was a cruiserweight title match, right? As Rex Bartlett at the time. So, man, we were working on some stuff, and when we got in there, we were doing like some long sequences. And like we did the first one, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I hit everything. I was there for everything. Except at the end I was supposed to smack him. Because he smacked me for, that was, out of all these crazy things, I was there for everything. But then I forget to just go like this, That's how it goes sometimes. But he covered it, it wasn't nothing that stuck out. He covered it right away. And we went through the match, and I went in the back, and I'm getting hugs from all the boys. And that gives you the confidence.
Sure does.
All of a sudden, like everything before that, I'm just so nervous. Am I going to fuck up? Am I going to look stupid? Da, 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 da. But after that, I'm like, hey, it just built me up.
For sure.
And the other thing, it was the first time I worked with P.L. Myers, who had pretty much become my career. He was like, when I got over, a lot of it had to do with P.L. We'll be talking a lot about P.L., trust me. But that was the first time we ever worked together. And Scarpone came in at the end and destroyed me after the match, and we ended up doing a real good program too. So,
yeah, you got the good memory going for sure, because you had the first 2 6:23:01 at the Rebirth, you win the Battle Royal, and then 7:29:01 at Aftershock. Cruiserweight champion Flyboy TK beats you. Mm-hmm. Where does the Rex Bartlett name come from? That's your first name.
Well, when I was growing up, I used to, like my friends, we'd do a little wrestling league. I would keep everything on a book, And then everybody grew out of that except me. So I had my own little federation I do. And I just had a bunch of names in there, a bunch of ideas. And then we started to have those video games.
Yeah.
So I would like, this wrestler's this guy, and I'd have my own little federation and stuff, and
cool.
Write my own pay-per-views and all that kind of stuff.
I think all of us probably did that one time or another.
Exactly.
Yep.
And, that was just the name I had from that. And it was, I didn't even have the name, like, driving out to Oshkosh. I came up with it in the back because we're like, we need a name. And I was like, Rex Bartlett. And I'm like, and at the time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just, they're like, where are you from? I'm like, San Francisco. Because I want to draw heat, and someone's gonna say a slur to me, and this is hillbilly Wisconsin, we're talking about. No offense, Nick. You're hillbilly Louisiana. This is hillbilly Wisconsin.
Right.
But so I knew someone would say something, and then it's like, oh no, I just got done with your mom. heat.
Yeah.
I just figured just by saying San Francisco would help me draw more heat. And I was told by Luke, and it was great. Luke wasn't like, you got to do this, you got to do that. He goes, I'm a bigger guy. I'm going to kick your ass. Make them want to kick your ass. Make them want to see you get your ass kicked. It was simple as that.
Nice and easy, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what he told me. And it was, like I said, the guy was the best. I couldn't have had a better guy for my first match. So I went out and pissed everybody off, and they cheered when he slammed me, and that was it.
And what did you look like then? Because you're most known for Butcher and how you look in your appearance and the coat and everything. What did the Rex Bartlett look like back then?
Rex Bartlett wore like these pleather pants and like a black, like I wouldn't say quite tank top, but like a no sleeve type thing. I was going for the like kind of like good. Well, I'm trying to think of exactly like kind of like a street kid look. It was like, but the song I was coming out to first when I did it was Outshined, and there's a line in the song that I was actually thinking of maybe using if I ever got Bartlett t-shirts. It was or was it Feeling California or Looking Minnesota? Wait. Oh, how am I forgetting it now?
Probably haven't thought about it in 25 years.
Yeah, Looking California, which means looking hot.
Yeah.
And then Feeling Minnesota, which means feeling cool.
Okay,
It was kind of
interesting, yeah.
But I thought I liked that the way it told. So that's kind of what I was looking at, and it wasn't something I put much time into, because this was just going to be something that blow off and become the Butcher. Mm-hmm. But then when we were going into Melrose Park and the areas I was from, they thought maybe I should stay as Rex Bartlett. That there was in turn face, and there was some length to something to do with it, and it kind of worked at first, but the main thing, like, I did this show with Frank the Tank up in Harvard. I think I wrote up with Nick on that one, too.
Yeah.
I wrestled Jared Priest. We had fun, great match. I mean, we'll be talking about him later, because I had some great shit with him later. But we had a nice, fun match, and I remember, like, a couple kids. There were a bunch of kids there, and they're like, oh, let's get an autograph from this guy. He's a wrestler. And that was like, okay, it's cool. They want the autograph, but it's a wrestler. I knew, and trust me, once I became the Butcher, everybody knew who the fucking Butcher was.
Yeah.
There was no, oh, that's a wrestler. No, that was the fucking
you know
Butcher.
who it is, yeah.
And that was what I was. I didn't want to be just one of the other guys. I wanted to stand out in the way I felt I could stand out.
You definitely did.
And it was like in my kind of way, just rough and tough and crazy, It's something I can handle and relate to, So.
Yeah. Next date we got on here, we'll talk. I'll do one of these names each, and then you can talk about each one as I name it. So this is 8/25 of 01. It's an 8-man tag. It's you, Sonny Rogers, Jared Priest, and Mr. Wrestling 5 defeats a guy named Billy Bob Thornton, who is not the actor, I assume.
No, it was. I think that was the kid, the skateboard kid.
Okay. Danny Childs.
Mm-hmm. Danny Childs, that's what I was thinking.
He was the skateboard kid.
Yeah.
Matt Monroe and Tony Scarpone. That's the
Eric West was the other guy.
The Billy Bob Thornton guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Eric West.
Okay.
Because I remember I took a heart. I still do this. 2001. I remember like yesterday. I took a heart attack in the move. I'm a big Heart Foundation fan.
That's the Torture Killer's finish.
I used to have. Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, we do.
I used to have a picture of it. I think West was giving me the clothesline while Scarpone was holding me.
We did it last night, matter of fact.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we got to dig up some Rex Bartlett photos so you can give me one of those if you still got some, so we can post it on the episodes here.
Yeah.
9/22 of 01, Flyboy TK and Tony Scarpone defeat you and Steve Stone, my buddy Steve Stone.
Yeah, there was actually a battle royal before that. It was a cruiserweight battle royal, and I think Stoney was not in it because some storyline or something, because he was cruiserweight at the time. Flyboy was a cruiserweight champion. So it was down to me and I think it was like Matt Monroe and Danny Childs, and somehow I got eliminated by I think Scarpone came down because I was fighting with Scarpone. He eliminated for me for that. Then I hit Scarpone with the chair. Then they get a hold of me, start jumping me, and then Stoney comes out to make the save. So we ended up tagging. I remember I wore a Metallica shirt because he was the metalhead.
Yes.
Yeah, I wore a Metallica shirt for him that night. He's like, yeah, I should have got you a metalhead shirt. I'm like, no, I go, that's too much. I go, to me, I thought just wearing a Metallica, like, showing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And New Jack was out there that night.
Ooh. Yeah, he
was
told
cool.
a story about that too. That was good on his show.
Oh, yeah, he was cool, man. But when he started, I mean, when he came in the ring, he's like, if anyone falls out of the ring, I'm going to cut him ear to asshole. And I'm like, yeah, I'm falling out of the ring.
I like that.
So, but I mean, he gave me a couple of the most gentle shots.
That's what Steve said too. Yeah, he said they were.
And
easy.
then he tossed me into the corner, and I'm like, I'm an ECW guy.
Oh, me too.
So,
Me too.
I mean,
Yep.
this is huge for me. This is bigger than The Rock or any of them. I got New Jack. He's nuts. I love it. And so he's throwing me into the outside turnbuckle, and I did like that head and shoulder thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I sold the shit out of it. And I get in the back, big hug. Thanks, brother. You really sold that for
Really?
me.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Real quick on New Jack, like my wife watched The Dark Side of the Ring with me, and she didn't get it at first. She's like, that guy should be in jail. I'm like, no. In my opinion, he should be in every wrestling company that there is because he teach people how to respect the business. And whenever he did anything to anybody, it was because they disrespected him. Any of these stories that you hear, if you look, he was disrespected. That's why he acted that way. I personally worked with the guy, and other people did. If you treat the guy the way he should be treated, nothing happens. So if there was more of that, there'd be less of this bullshit with these little punks in the business,
Back to the ECW thing too. I forgot to ask you about the Rebirth. How about the Sandman?
Sandman, he was like one of my favorite guys at the time. He was, but he had a few like he does, and I was involved in the match, so it was just kind of cool to be in the locker room with a guy I was a big fan of. My buddy Kenny, who passed away about a year later, he's right there with the Sandman from that night.
Oh yeah, I see him with his arm.
My mom has a picture of that too. I think somewhere because she took a picture. She goes, "Look, I got a picture of the Sandman."
10/20 of 2001 is a show called Night of the Warriors, and you defeat Tony Scarpone.
Oakland, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was a big one for me.
The meaning of Road Warriors? Meaning Night of the Warriors?
Me and the Road Warriors was great, but I mean, I had a hell of a match that night. Me and Scarpone, we did some good shit. And it's the finish of the match is like what I went over. But it was like, because we're going to feud again, and it would be the opposite. I was face, he was heel. I went over on the matches, but Scarpone got over on the feud. Because, and I love, one thing about me is I always enjoy taking the moves more than giving them. I was just how I was. And Scarpone had some power.
Yeah.
So it was like, we could do some shit. He did like a pump handle, diamond cutter. I mean, we did a lot of fun stuff. But, I went over on the match, and we did a little bit of fighting afterwards. He stood on the second rope and gave me a last ride, had me up like really high. So I mean, it was scary looking over, but I that's one thing I always trusted Scarpone because he was strong. So I'm like looking out at the crowd like real high up, but I wasn't worried. He had a good grip on me, put me down. But the best thing about that match, his entrance. So when Scarpone was first coming out, he would have a chain. He'd have something always in his pants. So, because the other matches you've seen, I was in with him before that. There was one before that was in, what was that play? You were there, Nick. Burlington, Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah.
That was right before one, because it was part of this little feud. And Scarpone, every time he came to the ring, had like a chain, had something else. Somehow, some way at this match in Oak Lawn, he had a shovel in his pants, and the people it wasn't like sticking out until the ref checked out. And then he had a valet at the time. He said it was hers, I mean, and actually watching his entrance, the way he was like going to one of the kids, and I was really impressed by him, the way he came to the ring that night. That was like, and when you start like that, it's like you can only get better. Good entrance. He had pissed off the crowd, made it easy on me, And that turned out to be a real good night. But then we got overshadowed because the next match was Rick and Jimmy in a street fight who tore it up. Went outside, threw a couple of tables, but yeah, no, it was a good night. It was real good learning experience. Like I said, the confidence just kept building.
That would be in the Road Warriors. First time meeting them.
It was cool. I mean, it was really cool. Sometimes it's like, but I mean, the way I was always trained, it's like shake hands or whatever. But seeing them in the locker room, just being, especially like Hawk, like my best friend Danny, his dad, he talked just like him. Because I'm always used to hey, run a rush, that kind of talk.
Yeah.
But just like his normal voice, which is pretty deep to begin with, he sounded just like him, and he was joking around, and it's just that's the crazy thing, seeing these guys who grew up with monsters and just scared as hell of them.
Just
They're
acting
regular
normal.
guys.
Yeah. And it's cool when they do treat you like one of their own too. That gives you a good feeling for sure. A little bit ahead, a couple months later, we're going to 5/24 of 02. There's a new tag team called Hostile Intentions.
Me and Rick Knight.
Mm-hmm. And you guys defeat Chris Styles and Nolan Michaels. So how did Hostile Intentions get together?
Well, they thought it would be good for me to work with Rick, which was awesome. They're like, you guys work together as a tag team. We had a show which was really cool. It was, of course, Scarpone and Flyboy. And I forget. Man, this is one thing I forget. I'm usually pretty good. I forget why I didn't have a partner. I forget. Maybe I think I was supposed to wrestle Flyboy, and then Scarpone jumped in. And then, I know him as Shaggy. He was PCW. Yeah,
Master
he was
Jake,
Mr. PCW at the time.
That sounds right.
Paul Christian Wayne.
Okay.
Paul Christian Wayne. That was it. Okay.
Is it really? I didn't know he had a name for it.
Yeah. It was
That's the first time I
pretty
heard that. Interesting.
So he came out and said, this is going to be a tag match, Butcher find a partner. And I go in the back, I can't find a partner. And I'm like, hey, let's just do this. And Rick's doing commentary. And he's he's doing great on the commentary. Like, oh, man, this kid, there one part everybody remembers is, I was just getting shit kicked out of me. And Rick's like, man, this kid's got balls of steel. He's out there trying to put me over and stuff. Well, then later in the match, Rick ends up coming and I tag him in and stuff. And then Rick throws me into one of the guys, like, kind of like this. And Stubbs, great. Oh, man.
Oh, man, he was the best.
He was. Yeah, he was. Right away, he's like, Bartlett just got him with the balls of steel, But no, it was a fun little match. The crowd was into it. The crowd was really into it. It was at Elk Grove Pavilion. Man,
I remember the building. Yeah.
Crowd. I think it was our first ever. Might have been the first ever show there. The crowd was really into that match. It was fantastic. And from there, I ended up getting hurt. That was kind of something stupid I did. So I'm at it's right before Dream Night 1. I'm at a graduation party. A couple of kids I knew in high school from my Greek friends. Sotiri, he's having his birthday, but he's no longer with us no more. Good guy, miss him. But we were at his graduation party, and these kids are fucking around in the yard. So I'm just, one of them's like, or Sotiri's actually like getting up like halfway. I'm like, stay there. I went for a leapfrog. Just a leapfrog the kid. I'm seeing these kids, I just want to get into it a little bit. So I'm like, I'm not going to do nothing. I just leapfrog him. As I'm doing it, he stands straight up. So I'm going right down on my neck. But being in the business, we kind of know how to shift ourselves just automatically. So I was able to shift, but I landed really, really hard on my lower back. I couldn't even stand up. I couldn't, and like me, I don't need the hospital. I need the hospital. A couple hours later, I ended up going because I couldn't even walk. So they shoot me in the ass with Demerol, and I was able to walk out of there. But funny story, I'm a little off of wrestling with my Greek friends. So there's Steve. He's the older brother. Trish is like my little sister. Danny's like my best friend, and Trish and Danny are married. So they're at the hospital with me. And they're like, only one could come in to see him. And Steve, the older Greek, I'm going. Trisha's like, no, I'm going. And they start arguing about it. Well, my buddy Danny, he just sneaks under the windows and he sees me. So after that, and it was a little, you know, I told people what happened, but, you know, we did have a small bit of the internet going at the time. And, you know, I was getting a yarder thing. No one said it to my face, but people, I would see stuff like, oh, Bartlett's a yarder or whatever. I'm like, fuck you, whatever. I didn't care. You know, that's what they're going to say. You know how it is. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say. They say it to my face, I'll explain it to them. It gets worse, hey, I can handle myself. I've never been afraid to do that. But, yeah, so from there it was like they kind of broke off the team. You know, it was like going in a new direction. I'm like, let's do the Butcher. It's time for the
It's coming
Butcher.
soon. It's coming soon.
It's time for the Butcher. That's what I'm telling them. And so we did this angle with Trick Davis where he was like joining up with me and Rick, but I didn't want him. You know, there'd be situations where the three of us end up together, and I didn't want him. So then we did this one show where I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I was walking out with Rick. Oh, Rick won the Midwest title. So Rick wins the Midwest title. And then we're walking out to the ring. And on the way to the ring, me and Rick had like one of those big plastic things filled with ice and beer. You know, and I'm on the outside. So that was part of the thing, you know. Hey, look like you're drunk. So I'm out there, you know, having a few beers and stuff. Rick wins the match. Interference. Trick Davis comes and makes the save. So all three of us, we walk up to the rope, to like each street corner. And real quick, while Rick's not looking, I run back. So Rick turns around, I'm at the ropes.
And he's laying down there.
Yeah, he's selling, you know, and the crowd's trying to tell him. I'm like, I don't know what happened, Rick.
Must have fell.
Yeah. So that was a little fun, but then we got into a match where it was going to be hair versus hair, and it ended up we were at the school. We fought outside the dumpster. Any place we could fight around that building, we were fighting, and then we got back in. I mean, that's like one of them things with the refereeing, and it was, you know, I'm as guilty as anybody. I mean, we were fighting all over the building, and there was no count out, but the match ended by DQ. So, but you don't think about that at the time, you know. So I actually won by DQ. So I had handcuffed Rick to the ropes, went to shave his head, and then took it to myself. Unfortunately, after a couple shots, the thing broke on me. So I'm like, oh shit, I threw it down and I just walked to the back. Because that was as far as I was going. I just wanted to end up with the head shave. Or actually, no, I think I put on the coat. I had it under the ring, I put on the coat and walked out. And then Rick grabs me and goes, no, we got to give him more, Butch. He thought I just stopped.
Oh,
he didn't know it was broken. He's like, "Where's the thing? Where's the thing?" He brings me out in front of the crowd. Where's the? I'm like, I don't know. It's broken over there. He's like, shit. He's like, somebody got scissors. Somebody got a knife. He ended up taking a knife, and I didn't care. I mean, I didn't care. I wanted to give them, you know, if he didn't feel we gave him enough, I wanted to give him. I don't want to let people down. That's the last thing. We promised someone to get their head shaved, and like I said, I was halfway, you know, doing it to myself, but the thing broke. So. You know, but everyone seemed satisfied. And then the next show, I came out during intermission, and something I did, this would have been like early 2003, late 2002, I would say. Something I did, even in POW, I mean, all the way through my career. In intermission, I went in the ring. That was the first time I did it, and I'm just sitting there, and I know it didn't come from watching Foley. It just started to happen while I was in the ring. It started pulling out little clumps, just like. But I was trying to act so crazy, you know, letting people think that I lost.
Time out.
That I lost.
Rocky's calling.
And yeah, Rocky's my guy. Think that I lost it, and that was what I was trying to do. So I'm like in there just going nuts. I plunged out onto the floor to leave, and just walked out like all, you know, told people get out of my. We just acted all crazy, and then I'm at the end of the show. We was at the school, so about 5 minutes passes. I start getting ready because I was still a rookie. You know, I'm like, I would say, probably even less than 3 years at the time. You know, so I was still, you know, and one thing I always did, Nick will remember this. I always cleaned that locker room. My first couple years as a rookie, I walk around and clean the locker room. Tried to get other rookies to join in. It never really stuck with anyone else, but that was something I did. I cleaned up the Road Warriors paint at the show. I just that was just something I did, paying my dues. And so after that show, I was just talking about the first one is the Butcher. It's like 5 minutes of going to help with the ring, going to help outside. Rick's like, stay in the back. He goes, I'll get you a beer. Sit and stay in the back. And I'm like, he's like, why? He goes, I don't want you out there 15, 20 minutes until the show's over. He goes, these people think you snapped. And I'm like, really? He goes, dude, trust me. Yeah. They're like, what the hell's wrong with him? What happened? And I'm like, oh, nice. Let's keep this going. Yeah, you're right. Give me a beer, I'll sit down. I'll wait for it to clear out a little bit.
Yeah, that one you mentioned against, I have that on here. You defeat Rick Knight by DQ. That was 12/28 of 02.
Okay.
So I got a couple matches before that I want to hit here. 9/21 of 02, the tag team champions, the CIA, defeat you and Rick Paradise as a team.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Death Row in a 3-way tag.
That was a
So we got some good guys to talk about there. So Damien and Diablo, CIA, the Chicanos in action. I remember seeing those guys at shows, and then we just looked.
Great guys.
Rick Paradise here recently. He was a great guy, and then.
Oh, I love tagging. This is just coming out to Paradise City was cool.
For 5 minutes, 6 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, because I was Rex Bartlett.
And then Death Row, Rick Rocket, and Stylin' Shane Eaton.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of guys in that match. You
remember? Wait, was the connection in there?
No, that was
all
just
right,
that 3-way.
So it ended up becoming like a bigger match. Like more people kept coming out because I remember Burke. I think does it say CIA was the tag team champs or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And they won the match.
Burke and Priest were a team. They came out during that match, and then the ladies' night out, Boy Toy Brian, they came out during that match because Shirley hit Ed in the back of the head. Ed from CIA. Man, it was Damien and Diablo.
Yeah.
He hit him in the back with a chair that broke.
Oh, split him open.
He shouldn't have thrown that shot, so that was a learning experience for him that night. Ed was Diablo was very cool. Could have handled it a lot worse. Was very, very cool about it. You know, he was upset, but he was very, very cool about it. I mean, they had to have a talk with him, and people got to learn. I mean, we've all done stupid, reckless stuff, at one time or another. But, that was the main thing I remember about that night. But, yeah, it was an interesting match. It ended up just turning into a big brawl. Big brawl.
Hey, your memory is spot on because it's following the dates and everything you did exactly. Because after that, I have a match. Chris Styles, Jared Priest, and Eric West defeat Hostile Intentions and Trick Davis. So there's the Rick Knight, and Trick Davis thing going back and forth. Mm-hmm. And then we have the DQ that we just talked about. And then 1/18 of 03, your flyer, the Beer Bash.
Yes.
You defeat Rick Knight for the Midwest title in a Chicago street fight.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one. Like I said, Schiller Park, it turned out where, we were doing, we did 3 shows that month. There was 2 at the school and 1 where this was like a last minute, like a month before type thing, because we were supposed to go somewhere else. I forget where it was. It was just, everything switched. And then I got the call that, I'm going over at Schiller Park. And it's like, man, that's the way it should be. And I was kind of telling you guys earlier, my buddy Bry, the guy just called me. He was playing with his band, and a bunch of our friends went to see that. And then I think that was in like Franklin Park or something, not too far. Then they came to our show where we were giving away Beer Bash meant you got beer with your ticket.
Really?
You didn't have to pay, yeah.
Ah.
And me and my friends, man, we could do some damage over there. So. And then I got, I was hanging out with my biker buddies at the time. Oh man, we had a crew there, and it was like I was the heel, but we did my first like real hardcore match. And we were doing tables and shit. And this was the way my mind thought at the time. It was like, I had no fear. I really didn't when I was getting to this point with the Butcher. I watched, not too long before that, maybe a few months, they were doing that, it was after WCW had folded, the Invasion angle, and they did this battle royal. So I saw Bradshaw take Billy Kidman and do a fall-away slam over the top rope. Okay. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But you know what would be cooler? If there was a table. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, nowadays, I think about who would want to attempt something like that, you know? Because I feel what it does to me. But, you know, we went for it, me and Rick. Rick didn't hesitate. As soon as he got me locked, he threw me.
I'd rather have a table there than land on the floor. Actually, because it kind of breaks your fall.
Well, yeah, for us.
Flatten on the floor.
For us,
yeah, exactly.
Because
yeah.
they have the mats. In WWE, they have the mats, you know. You're right about that, yeah. Yep. But, I mean, things can, the way you're being thrown, the way you land, things can go wrong.
Yeah.
But Rick landed me perfectly. The match went through, even though I was the heel. I'm holding up the Midwest belt, and people are jumping on me like I won the Super Bowl. Just
Hey, what's it like now winning your very first championship in wrestling now?
Man, I can't even describe it. Especially, you know, it was in my hometown. I had people there, and I was bleeding. And that might sound crazy. So when I was like really thinking about getting into this, you know, before I became a butcher, at the same store, I used to run a chicken department. And I'd be doing that, and I'd be like daydreaming. And my daydreams would be about me holding up a belt with blood dripping all over my face. And that was the first time of many where I got to experience that. But see, at the time I was just it was like one of the first couple times I got color. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't that kind of color.
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't.
But it was there at least, you know. See, and then what I really learned, the guy who actually taught me, where are we at?
This is the last naming.
Oh, then okay,
Rex Bartlett,
we're already past it then.
Yeah.
So after this is when you become Rex Bartlett. Butcher, when I was Rex Bartlett, me and Rick tagged against Jimmy and Dave with Fonzie in the match, and I was the first time I ever got color, and I just tried to do it, you know, whatever. And then after the match, Fonzie gave me a trick. He's like, dude, next time you do it, stick it in your head, turn it, and act like you're taking the biggest shit in the world. Just let it drip. And that's what I've done ever since.
Yeah, the first show I got you at, now that you have become what we know you as now as the Butcher, was 2/8 of 03 at Aftermath. Boy Toy Brian defeats you by DQ.
Okay, yeah, that was at Summit. Okay, and I think that led to a hardcore match, didn't it?
Yes, 3-1 of 03 at Burnout. You beat him in a hardcore match.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, and then there were, oh no, we were not there yet, the 3 days. Because I was at 2 of them. There was a 3-day event. That was the flyer we were looking at.
Yep, that was one, yep.
Yeah, I think that should be coming up next, because that's the next significant match I remember from that.
Yeah, some of these are random, some are in order, so I don't have every single here and there. 3/29 of 03, you wrestled Tony Rican. You beat him. Another name that's been around for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Good guy.
With him. Yeah. Always liked Tony.
Here's a double night. 4/11 of 03, Tag Team Turmoil. You wrestle Styling Shane Eaton.
Yep.
And you lose by DQ. He is one of the funniest and just overall fun guys to be around in the locker room. I think he's one of my favorite people to be.
He definitely is. And
what a character.
It was we were all kind of hanging out. People don't even know what we were doing, but a bunch of us were hanging out on, the day was 420, so you could probably figure it out. We were hanging out at T-Wood about a year or 2 ago. And, you know, he had just was letting some of the young guys know, he was giving me like some real huge compliments. And coming from, you know, when people compliment you, it means a lot. But when coming from certain people, it means a hell of a lot. He's seen me since day one. Mm-hmm. And he's a nice guy. He is funny. I mean, I wish I knew that speech he gave to Super J about the 3-piece and all. Oh, man, it was one of the best speeches I ever heard. It was at Chicago Ridge. Oh, that was the show. We skipped that one. That was the You Should Have Stayed Home show. I was coming from Country Thunder at the time with a couple of my buddies. So I was going right from Twin Lakes, Wisconsin to Chicago Ridge.
Oof.
So I get there, and I go to Rick. I'm like, man, I'm about, because we were involved. Rick was the main event, you know, and I was coming out with him. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm an hour late. You know, he's like, dude, I go, we got lost. He goes, you should have stayed lost. That was what it was. Should have stayed lost. So I'm like, why? He goes, Jimmy and Dave are gonna beat the fuck out of us tonight with those candlesticks. And I was kind of like coming. That was right after the injury. I was like, I was first coming back. That's why that was my first time in the ring, but I wasn't gonna be working the show. And they did. They beat the shit out of us. And then it got so bad where Rick got worried because, you know, with my back and everything, Rick covered me. And we oh man, that was, I'll never forget that. You should have stayed lost. He had this grim look on his face. But yeah.
Well, that's a good way to end our first hour. Went by
All
that
right.
fast, Ray. Can you believe that?
Oh yeah.
We're going to part 2. So you ready for part 2?
Sounds good, yes.
All right. We're going to part 2, guys, with none other than The Butcher. So stay tuned, like and share on Facebook and YouTube. For my engineer, Nick H. For The Butcher, I am Scott Spade. We'll see you on part 2, Wrestling on the Fly.
Sounds good.